Right, before we start, you're not a dinosaur. We need to get that out of the way immediately, because everything you think you know about what you are is wrong. And the sooner we clear it up, the better. You are not a dinosaur. You are not a bird. You are not a bat. You are a pterosaur, a flying reptile that evolved powered flight entirely independently from every other flying animal that has ever existed, on its own branch of the reptile family tree, with its own completely unique solution to the problem of getting off the ground. You solved flight, separately, from scratch. Also, you're not called a pterodactyl. That's a common name that technically refers to Pterodactylus, a smaller, earlier species. What you actually are is a Pteranodon, which means winged and toothless, and you are considerably more impressive than the word pterodactyl suggests. So let's get that on the record too. Right, now we can begin. You hatch from an egg on a coastal cliff face on what will one day be the interior of North America, the Western Interior Seaway, a shallow inland sea splitting the continent in two during the late Cretaceous, roughly 86 million years ago. The egg was small, leathery, buried in warm sand or soil near the cliff. Your parents may have stayed nearby. They may not have. The fossil record is frustratingly quiet on the subject of Pteranodon parenting, and scientists have been arguing about it for decades without resolution. What is not in dispute is that you hatch with your wings already functional. Flaplings, paleontologists call the hatchlings. You can fly almost immediately. Whether you should is a different question. You are small, very small, the size of a sparrow. And the world you have hatched into has things in it that eat sparrows. You find a crack in the cliff face and you get into it, and you stay very still and you wait. Here is what you look like, because almost everything you have seen in films is wrong. You have a wingspan of roughly 7 meters as an adult, the width of a small aeroplane. Your body, however, weighs only about 20 kilograms. You are almost entirely wing. The wing itself is a membrane of skin and muscle stretching from an enormously elongated fourth finger, one single finger stretched out to form the entire leading edge of the wing, down to your hind legs. It is not like a bat wing. It is not like a bird wing. It is something evolution arrived at completely alone, and it works in ways that still surprise aeronautical engineers. You have a crest, a long bony crest projecting backward from the top of your skull, roughly as long as your skull itself in males, smaller in females. For a long time this was assumed to be decorative. Then someone did the aerodynamics and realized the crest acts as a rudder, a passive steering mechanism that responds to airflow and reduces the muscular effort required to change direction in flight. Your skull is a built-in flight instrument. You have no teeth, hence Pteranodon. Your beak is long and narrow and slightly upturned at the tip, designed for one specific purpose: plucking fish from the surface of the water at speed without losing momentum. You are a precision instrument, designed by 100 million years of evolution for a single task, and you are very good at it. Getting airborne is the part nobody expects. You don't run and flap. You don't take a long runway approach. You launch. All 4 limbs, both wings and both legs, push against the ground simultaneously in an explosive quadrupedal vault, like a pole vault performed by an animal instead of an athlete. The mechanics of this were worked out by scientists studying the geometry of pterosaur wing bones, and it remains one of the most surprising discoveries in paleontology. You launch from all 4s straight up, and then you are flying. The first time you do it successfully, you are 3 months old, and it goes about as well as you'd expect. You get approximately 2 meters off the ground, stall, and land face first on the cliff face. you try again. The Western Interior Seaway is spectacular from the air. You learn this over your first year of increasingly competent flight. The water below shifting colour with depth and weather, the coastline stretching in both directions, the thermals rising from the warm inland cliffs that let you climb without a single wing beat if you read them correctly. Reading thermals is everything. You are 20 kilograms with a 7-metre wingspan, and the wind is either your engine or your enemy, depending entirely on whether you understand it. You spend your first year learning the difference. The crest on your skull helps. The passive rudder catching airflow changes you haven't consciously registered yet, and adjusting your heading before your brain has processed the need for it. Your skull flies slightly ahead of you. The rest of you follows. You eat fish. Specifically, you eat fish by flying low over the water surface, beak angled downward and dipping into the water at the moment of contact, a technique called skimming, though newer research suggests you may also plunge dive from height like a gannet, folding your enormous wings and hitting the water at speed. Either way, the result is the same. The beak closes on the fish disappears, and you are already climbing back to altitude before the water has finished closing over the space where you were. On a good day, you eat 12 fish. On a bad day, the wind is wrong and the thermals don't cooperate, and you spend more energy flying than the fish provide, and you land on the cliff face and fold your wings around yourself and wait for tomorrow. You are now fully grown, 7-metre wingspan, 20 kilograms, and you are about to do something that will not be fully understood for another 86 million years. You migrate. Pteranodon fossils have been found hundreds of kilometres from the coastline, in the interior, far from the sea, away from any obvious food source. The most compelling explanation is seasonal migration, following the fish populations as the seaway's temperature and currents shift through the year. You don't have a map. You don't have instruments. What you have is the Earth's magnetic field, detectable through specialized receptors in your body, and the memory of routes flown before, and the particular quality of the light at different times of year, and whatever else evolution installed in you that science hasn't fully decoded yet. You fly for days. The seaway passes below you in long green-blue sweeps. You sleep on the wing, half your brain switching off at a time, like a bird, maintaining just enough consciousness to keep flying and avoid obstacles. You don't land unless you have to. Landing is expensive. Taking off again costs energy you might need. The crest catches the wind. The wings adjust. The Earth's magnetic field hums through you like a compass needle you never consciously check. You follow it anyway. Here is something that will be discovered about you in the far future, and when it is discovered, it will quietly rewrite everything scientists thought they knew about the size limits of flight. For a long time, the assumption was that 20 kilograms was close to the upper limit for a flying animal. Birds max out around 15 kilograms before flight becomes aerodynamically impractical. Pteranodon, at 20 kilograms and 7 meters of wingspan, was already pushing that limit. Then came Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus northropi was a later pterosaur, Cretaceous, found in what is now Texas. Wingspan of 10 to 11 meters. Weight estimated at 200 to 250 kilograms. The size of a small giraffe. able to fly. When the first fossils were found in the 1970s, aeronautical engineers ran the numbers and said it was impossible. The numbers said an animal that size could not generate enough lift to get airborne. Then someone looked more carefully at the launch mechanics, the quadrupedal vault, the explosive all four limbs push, and the numbers changed. It was possible. It was happening. For 160 million years, pterosaurs kept finding the edge of what flight could be and pushing past it. You are not the biggest, but you are part of the lineage that kept asking the question. You land on the cliff face at dusk. The seaway below catches the last of the light and turns it gold, and then bronze, and then dark. Your wings fold with a sound like a sail coming down, the membrane pulling tight against the elongated finger bone, the crest catching the last breeze off the water, then settling. Around you on the cliff, others of your kind are folding their wings and settling into the rock. The colony is large, dozens of animals on this section of cliff alone, and the sound of them settling is a low communal rustling and clicking, a language made of proximity and wing position and the subtle shift of crest angles in the fading light. You are not a dinosaur. You are not a bird. You are something the planet tried once for 160 million years and then never tried again after the asteroid. A solution to flight that the universe arrived at independently and then closed like a book. You grip the cliff with your hind feet and your wing finger knuckles, and you tuck your long beak under your wing. The seaway goes dark below you. You sleep. That's your life as a pterodactyl. If you want to live as something completely different next week, you know what to do. Subscribe to Life if you were. Next time we're going underwater, and the thing waiting for you down there makes everything up here look manageable. See you there.